don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway, whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it. Your proposition may be good, but let's have one thing understood. Whatever it is, I'm against it. And even when you've changed it or condensed it, I'm against it. I'm opposed to it. On general principles, I'm opposed to it.
This is the kind of thing that Paul warned against. Don't say that you're of Apollos. Don't say that you're of Paul. We're of Christ. But at the same time, I get what's so important for us to, I'm sorry, I can't ignore the comment. Flowers fall. We called the bouquet.
There you go. There you go.
Well,
if you're going to put
I haven't heard that one before.
If you're going to put a plug in for provisionism, I think that's not named after a person.
And that is what provision is all about. It's God's provision for all people. Divergent theology, I don't know who that is, but he's saying that we made their first episode. I'm curious, Divergent theology, maybe you could comment on the side chat. Are y'all Calvinists who are doing a theology podcast, or are you non-Calvinist of some sort or some breed? Forgive me if you've already told me this and I've forgotten, but there are a lot of podcasts out there, and so sometimes I forget who's who. But maybe you can introduce who you are on the side chat before we close here.
No, I like
Michael Patton
provisionism, and I actually added that to my own self-declaration. You know, I call myself an evangelical fundamentalist, Baptistic dispensationalist. I think, dispensationalist, provisionalist, compassionate Christian.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it right there. That's good. I need to write that down.
It kind of goes from general to smaller category.
Yeah, it's good. Divergent Michael Patton, you say me, but who's me? I don't think your given name is Divergent Theology, so you have to tell me who me is. Michael Patton, I know. That would be a great podcast to listen to. So, hey, we're giving a plug for, it sounds like you got a Calvinist and non-Calvinist. Now, we've had Michael Patton on here before, and we will probably have him again sometime. He's a good Calvinistic guy, and he seems real reasonable. He's actually written articles confronting Calvinist on a lot of things, like calling tulip the gospel. He comes down pretty hard on Calvinists for calling tulip the gospel. And he seems to be
which is
pretty
good.
reasonable.
That's really good.
Yeah. Samson. Okay. I don't know that I've had pleasure of meeting you, Samson. So good to meet you via side chat, and good luck on the podcast. I look forward to listening to it. It sounds like Brian, you and I made their first podcast. So
wow. Praise the Lord.
Maybe I'll go listen to that when I get a chance. So we'll see if you do a good job representing us with Michael Patton. So, all right. God bless, guys. I'm going to go eat. I'm hungry. So,
thanks again.
God bless, guys. Bye-bye. Be good.
Hey, I'm Michael Patton. I'm really excited about this because I am going to be able to shut down everything that Samson says. And I should be able to do that because I'm the president of Credo House Ministries, and I've got this THM from DTS. Now listen to what he has to say.
Hey, I'm Samson Kovach. I'm from the Theology Pit, and I'm really excited that Michael's going to shut down everything that I have to say. That makes me excited. I have a MAR from TSM. I'll say it like that. This is Divergent Theology, where we take topics. Michael and I both have different backgrounds theologically, and we sort of clash them together, and we see what happens when the world of theology actually doesn't agree with itself.
Gosh, I mean, we're questioning everything right now with this COVID stuff, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got so many friends and so many people who have backed out of church for so long, they're not really getting back into it what they were before. They're saying, I got to this place and I started asking the question, what is church, and what does it matter since I've started finding these other avenues? We do this online stuff. Of course, we're not being baptized. Can you be baptized online?
There was an online baptism. Yeah. Did you see that one in virtual reality?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you see it?
It was because it was floating around. It was floating around at the same time
Oh,
I took.
I was there.
Were you? Get
Yeah,
out of town.
I went to it.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
it's crazy. I was so surprised that I was like, I got to go to this thing.
This was like my last semester at seminary, and I was taking a course on the history and theology of catechesis development. And baptism came up, and I said, "What about online baptisms?" And they poo-pooed all over that. Like they just they did like so bad. And here we are, like we're at the place where what do you do? Also seeing the ones with, you know, everybody in the masks and stuff, and the priest like standing 6 feet back with a squirt gun, you know, like squirting the kid and stuff, which is why, you know, sprinkling will become superior because it's a lot easier to do from distance. True.
I mean, you're going to have to. You're wearing a mask.
I'm telling you, Super Soaker has a market on baptism here. We can do that. But yeah, but you're right. Like what makes a church? And I think that baptism.
Here we go to the ecclesiology, right?
Yeah. Is that identifying factor of what makes a church? Now, it's not so much the person just getting wet and then baptizing, because honestly, they could do that on their own. And we talked about this before too, on the last episode, that the unique thing about John the Baptist is that he was baptizing. Like that's kind of a very unique
self-baptism.
Yeah. And it's like, well, why would self-baptism be? I mean, let's say we have a baptistry in the churches. You can go in on your own or under supervision. You go in, you wash up. We call that baptism. Why does there have to be? And I don't want to answer this biblically with because Christ said that you need to baptize. I don't want to say with that. I just want to say conceptually, like why does it have to be hands on? Like why can't there be somebody outside of you know the pool or the baptismal or whatever saying those words, and then you're dunking yourself a couple times or one time or however many you think's appropriate. Why does the church have to be so hands-on? And I think that the reason is because you have to do this for the benefit of another. And I really think that this stems back to the understanding of community through Passover. Because when I was thinking about this recently, like you think about what happened in Exodus and what happened with the Passover understanding. If the blood of the lamb was not put on the doorposts, like what happened? You know, the firstborn would die, right? So was the firstborn out there making sure that blood was on that doorpost? No, it was the head of households that were out there. It was the leaders that were out there. It was the leaders of the house. It was the parents. It was a family thing. Oh, and you need to reconnect. Well, everybody, this is a good place for a commercial break. we can move into this and say, hey, credocourses.com, credohouse.org. thetheologypit.com. These are all great places to get these resources. Hopefully that's Michael back. I don't see a picture.
Oh, I'm back?
You're back, but I don't see a picture.
Well, for some reason, my internet just switched networks. Okay, hold on. I can get a picture. Okay. That's easy. Keep up with the commercial. I could hear you the whole time.
Oh, could you? Okay. I can't remember whether you had which one is .com and which one is .org with you.
No, I know. Just think Credo Courses. It's the for-profit. Credo House has always been the think Credo Courses. It's for-profit. Wait, did you hear me last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Credo Courses for-profit, and Credo House is the not-for-profit that we've had for a long time. Okay. And it's it was not-for-profit until I didn't pay the taxes, or I didn't see the taxes, and.
So Credo Courses
we are trying to get it back though. I mean, we are.
So Credo Courses is a company. Credo House is an organization. .com for company. .org for organization.
LLC. We're an LLC.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's how you can remember it then. Credo Courses .company or Credo House .organization. All right, cool.
That's what they originally intended those, right?
Yeah. That's how I keep it in my head. That's why our church page is a .org, but the Theology Pit is a .com.
Yeah.
Because I keep it like that. So could you hear me the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're putting the blood on the doorpost, and they're doing that for the benefit of another. Because I mean, who knows? You know, you got some very bad parents out there that wouldn't care if their firstborn.
Here's the question I asked you, okay? Because I asked you this, you couldn't hear me earlier. I thought you were just talking over me and didn't want to answer the question. Why you said the firstborn couldn't do that? Why not? Why couldn't the firstborn do it?
Well, here's the double meaning that I think is in the symbolism, in the figurative understanding of what's going on here. The firstborn is not just the firstborn physically of, all the kids. And some of the kids may be too small to reach the top of the doorpost, and letterism says, well, too bad they're dead. But Israel is considered the firstborn. It's the chosen people. They're the chosen people. Christ is the Israelites. So he is the firstborn of all creation. Within covenant theology, this is the way that we think about a lot of this stuff. So there's a lot of figural layered meaning within this. And so this is done for the benefit of someone else. And so that's where a lot of this is coming from. That's why I think that it's up to the church, and it's the responsibility of the church, which is the body of Christ, which is the firstborn, the one that perpetuate this, that is the entity that is to baptize. Baptism says more about what is transpiring, and everybody's involved in it. The whole community is involved in it. And when somebody is then baptized and brought up into that community, they continue that by baptizing.
Well, so within the covenant church, then, which is the precursor to baptism? Is it the Passover, or is it the circumcision?
Oh, it would be both. It would be
both are precursors. Both are imagery. It's a totality.
Yeah, it's like when you're reading the Book of Revelation, and a lot of times people say that, and hopefully I won't get killed by the linear reading dispensationalists out there. But
I'll kill you right now.
Yeah, if you take the chapters and just put the words "meanwhile back at the ranch" before a lot of the chapters, you can sort of see that it's layered. It's not a linear timeline, but it's like the different chapters are layered. It's a type of literature. And I think that throughout history, throughout scripture, in the same way that you read scripture, especially the Old Testament, and you see the same story like 3 times in a row. Yeah. Because there are things that are going on at the same time. And when you read Nehemiah, you don't read it by itself. You read, Esther and Ezra along with it, because, it's all going on at the same time. Do you want a bigger picture? And same thing with the Gospels. You don't read the Gospels linearly. You don't say, okay, well, Jesus had his ministry. He died, he came back to life, and then he did his ministry again. Then he died and came back to life, did his ministry again, died, came back to life. So he did his ministry 4 times. Like, nobody reads the Gospels that way. You know, and so it's the same thing that's happening, but there's just different layers, and it's being taught over and over again. It's being reciprocated and reproduced over and over and over again. I think that's the way that God works, just in his being.
If that's true, I mean, and I'm sure you've dealt with this question. If that's true, then why not just add baptism rather than having baptism replace? I mean, you have circumcision replace the Passover.
Yeah, it's funny. I have no idea why. Like why people do that. I think that part of the reason is because with Abraham and with the righteousness and faith that kind of Paul goes through, sort of trying to smooth things over between the Jews and the Gentiles. If you're Jewish, this is your culture. This is what you do to identify yourself with that people group. And you're doing that because you are a Jew, and as a Jew, you are to, hold these different laws, and you are to hold these things. You're part of this theocracy, that kind of thing. And this is where people get tripped up, because a lot of people look at Second Temple Judaism as a works-based salvation, where I don't believe that it is. I don't believe that Jewish people are doing what they're doing in order to be saved or to be right with God. I think they're doing what they're doing because they are saved and because they are in the covenant with God, and this is their responsibility. This is what they are to do. It's when I was on a theology pit in a podcast interview I did with a friend of mine from Africa, from Kenya, northern Kenya. We were talking about tribalism and what certain things mean. I think we talked about this a little bit with what sacrifices mean, because they still do animal sacrifices like all the time. There is an understanding, and syncretism is a part of all societies within Christianity. There is no pure Christianity. We all bring our own baggage into everything. But the understanding of why a sacrifice is done it's not to appease a God because this God is angry if you don't do this. It's because it's out of respect. It's like saying, no, God, we want you to be a part of this. This is why we are doing this. And with the Israelites, it's the same thing. This was commissioned to them. No, God, we want you to be a part of our lives. This is why we are doing this. Not, not so that we can be saved, or that we can keep that and we can't do it. But with Gentiles,
sure, but they didn't have any Romans to let this be more defined, more in a very propositional way, to define their salvation. And I do agree with you. I'm just saying, I at least, and I'm not sure what you think. I don't think they really thought the same way we do exactly, but there was a lot more mystery to it, not having everything defined, in the fullness of time. Christ came and brought about what was going, and their hope was just in what God was going to do.
Well, I don't know. I would push back against that just a little bit, just because, and I know that you listen to my podcast all the time. I know you listen to Theology Pit like every day.
Yeah,
so
Theology Pit.
The Theology Pit. I'm going to plug a book here. And
I'm not looking that up right now.
No. Okay. And so this book here, Figural Reading in the Old Testament. Yeah. I did a 4-part, it's 4 30-minute sections. Well, the last one's 45 minutes with the author. I sat down with Dr. Collett, and we talked about figural reading, and that's some of the stuff that we touched on. Was that Old Testament understanding and Old Testament reasoning. And the argument that he's making is, no, everything is there in the Old Testament, and they understood it in the same way. The New Testament is the reciprocation of what is owed to God that Christ did. So all of what humanity should have been doing, Christ did, and that was reciprocated back to God. So the Old Testament is God's love going out, and the New Testament is God's love being returned back to him. So if we look at something like, and I talked about Revelation before, we look at Revelation chapter 4 and 5, you see those, the 5 hymns of the great hymns of Revelation, and all of the hymns are pointing back to Genesis, are pointing back to the creation, and then are moving up. The first 2 hymns are praising God the Creator, so God the Father, and then you have God the Son being praised in the next 2, and then the 5th hymn is the Son and the Father being praised and giving all glory. And those are all imagery taken from the Old Testament. John's not importing anything new in there. So I would argue and say, no, the Jews actually did have everything. Because Jesus said, we're talking about baptism here, even when he says to Nicodemus, you're a teacher of the law. How do you not know this stuff?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They didn't have everything. I mean, they had everything in the sense of it was there, it was available, the imagery was there, it was kind of, this puzzle pieces were all there, but they weren't. Well, that's not a very good one, because I think the puzzle piece illustration, well, I'll use it anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
The puzzle pieces were all there, and in the New Testament they put it together, the puzzle pieces, and people saw a clear view of what God was doing in salvation history.
See, I don't think so, because you had people like Simeon who saw the Lord's salvation, who knew that this was coming, who were there.
But
Jesus, I mean, the point is that when Jesus spoke, he spoke as though they should have known that it was there, that it's obvious, that it's right there.
Definitely.
And I think that
I think you're right. I think the imagery gives them enough, and they should have known. You're a teacher of law, you should have known these things.
Yeah.
But what we got was propositional knowledge of those things. I mean, we got Jesus teaching. Why did he teach if we were already clear enough in the New Testament? Paul explaining what Jesus did, and expanding on the church and everything. Why did we need that if it was already established in the Old Testament? But we get a propositional understanding of so much more. And then this establishment of the new church that is birthed from all this propositional understanding.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can get into ecclesia also. Like, I mean, the way we translate church, what it means, like, the called out ones who are people who are called out, and so it is reminiscent of Abram being called out You know,
Yeah.
it's reminiscent of Israel being called out of Egypt. I mean, you have even the name church. The fact that we use that syllabification might not do us justice, because we're thinking organization, we're thinking entity, you know, and we're not thinking people. We're not thinking group. We're not thinking, you know, this familial type of relation. And within Gentiles, with Gentiles, I should say, Gentiles are not Jews. You know, and this was Romans, because when you're reading Romans, Paul's dealing with both Jewish Christians and Gentile Christians. That's the point of Romans. So sometimes he's talking to Jewish Christians and sometimes he's talking to Gentile Christians, and he's trying to get them to understand, look, you come from different cultures, different backgrounds. You don't, and this is Galatians. You don't need to be a Jew in order to be saved, in order to be justified, to be part of the people of God. Did you just freeze up on me? Or are you just really good at keeping still? You froze up. Maybe you can hear me. I cannot hear you. I'll wait for that to come back here. It's still frozen. It's still there. Well, if you can hear me, I mean, I'll continue on with this until you snap back, and then maybe I'll go back over it. But what I'm driving at here is that the seal and the sign. Okay, there you are. Could you hear me at all? Oh, you froze up again. Oh, you disappeared again.
Why?
Oh, there. Okay, I hear you now, but I don't see you.
Anything?
Yeah. Now.
Hello?
Yeah, I see you. Okay.
I don't know. Next time when we get a break, when we switch over, let me restart my internet. So remind me of that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Even though it's been restarted, if I restart it from the phone, it's different for some reason.
Oh.
At least they say it is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how you do
Even though I
things out
unplugged
there.
it, you know, I was under my desk earlier and trying to get the camera to work so that we could get this going, and I unplugged the internet. That's why I called you. I was just saying, I don't have any internet.
Oh, that's it. Oh, jeez.
Things aren't going well for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
no.
could hear you.
Okay.
I could hear you.
I'm trying to backtrack in my head now. Where is that?
Yeah.
So with being a Gentile, we're not under the same type of covenantal obligations as Jewish people are, even Jewish Christians. And so therefore we have a different sign that was given. And this was the sign of baptism. And baptism, again, has different figural meanings. And Nicodemus comes into play here, which is interesting because I actually think that Jesus meant literally being born again, like physically. Like, I think that Nicodemus was right to say, how can it be that a man who is old can crawl back into his mother's womb?
Well, this is an unexpected diversion. This sounds like it needs a whole show.
I totally think that that's what it is, because this becomes the
because nobody else in history has ever believed that.
What? What are you talking about? All right.
Well, you can find 3 or 4 people. Give me a break.
Okay. All right.
I've heard of somebody on the internet. There was this one guy, you know.
All right. Have you ever heard?
He was on MySpace, I think, or something like that, and he said something about it.
All right. Would you respect a student of Karl Barth saying it?
A student of Karl Barth? I would consider. I mean, I don't respect him just because he's a student of Karl Barth. I mean,
all right. How about if he was? What if he was? What if he was T.F. Torrance?
Well,
Tom Torrance.
I mean, I don't know. I would. Here's what I'd do: is I'd say this guy's a smart guy. I got to listen to him, and that's the same thing I say with you.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what Torrance said. He said, "It's upon Christ's unique birth once and for all that our birth depends, and in His birth we are given to share. Baptism thus reposes upon the Virgin's birth of Christ, as well upon His death and resurrection."
I did not understand a single word because that he writes in a style. Seriously, I've got a certain style in my brain. I can't read. Like
Okay.
I can't read Dallas Willard. I can't.
Oh, I love Dallas Willard.
I can read the page over and over and over.
Okay.
But I can't hear it. It's really weird. But I couldn't even understand that, even hearing it.
Okay, so I'll break it down then.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for listening to Divergent Theology. You can visit our websites at credohouse.org or thetheologypit.com and make a donation. Support the ministry that way. Now, here's a quick look at next week's Divergent Theology.
Okay.
When you're reading Torrance, always think recapitulation view. That's where he's coming from. Okay, so baptism not only links us to the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, but also to the birth of Christ.